Hey everyone, I'm Karan from Enable and welcome back to the official video tutorial series on AbleSet. In this video, we're going to talk about OSC. OSC stands for Open Sound Control and is a network-based messaging protocol supported by various devices and pieces of software across the pro audio and pro lighting space. It acts as a common language that these devices can use to exchange information and control each other. AbleSet can send OSC commands to external devices and applications, but it also reacts to quite a few OSC commands, which essentially gives other devices more direct and more granular control over AbleSet. These can be simple things like controlling playback and looping, but you can get way more customized than that. Like, I could send notifications to all AbleSet remotes on stage, for instance, if we're behind on time and a song needs to be cut. But you could also jump to a specific song by its name, or jump by a specific number of lines within your lyrics track, move between setlist and performance view with a single button, control track groups, control the state of your redundant audio interface, and even control specific settings per device so you can change your setup on the fly. Almost every feature we've talked about up until now integrates with OSC in one way or another. The possibilities are huge and you can get really creative. If you want to go through all the options, check out the full list of available OSC commands linked in the description below. Let's look at a few different ways to trigger AbleSet's OSC commands. First up, we can map OSC commands to a MIDI controller. Select Custom OSC for your MIDI mapping and enter the command you want. If you start typing /, AbleSet will actually give you quite a few suggestions. I've set up this pad to toggle on and off safe mode so I can allow dynamic jumping on the fly. If you're not familiar with the structure of an OSC command, this is a good place to start exploring. Each command consists of an address, followed by a list of parameters delimited by spaces. OSC commands that start with a / are automatically sent to AbleSet itself, but you can also specify an external recipient by adding its IP address and port in front of the OSC address. It is also possible to send multiple commands at once. I can just separate them by a semicolon or create a new line by pressing Shift and Enter and then add additional commands there. This allows you to create macro-like workflows. Let's say there's a teleprompter for your singer at the front of the stage that is connected to AbleSet. You have lyrics set up in Ableton, but your singer doesn't usually need them and just prefers to see performance view to be on top of things. Now, things still go wrong sometimes and they could forget a few lines, so you could have a button set up to first switch the screen to show the correct lyrics track, and then also unmute the track group for the guide vocals. It's also possible to send timed OSC commands in sync with your playback by using a MIDI track in your Ableton Live session. Flag your MIDI track with +OSC, and then you can define the command in the name of a clip. This command will be sent as soon as the playhead crosses the start of that clip, but it's also sent if you place the playhead anywhere in the clip while Ableton is stopped. If you prefer the command to only be sent while playback is running, add the playing attribute to the track name. With attributes, you can also add a prefix to every message, which is great to avoid repetition and keep the OSC messages in the clip names concise and readable. You could use this to set up separate OSC MIDI tracks for different purposes to keep things organized. For instance, I'm using this OSC track to send full screen notifications to all my devices. The OSC command for this is notify big all, followed by the text I want to send. Since this first part will always be the same in the command, I can set it out as a prefix by including it as a track attribute, and I'll then only need the actual text of the notification in the clip name. And this way, I can send different notifications at different points in my timeline more efficiently. In this scenario, the clip names are recognized as additional parameters of the OSC command. Therefore, a notification with more than one word will also be interpreted as multiple parameters. You can avoid this by either putting your text in quotation marks, or by using the single attribute, which will tell AbleSet to interpret the entire clip as one parameter. A prefix can also be useful for sending OSC to external devices. Let's say I have a track that is only used to communicate with my lighting desk. I could include its IP address and the target port as a prefix, and I'll only need the actual OSC command in the clip name. AbleSet offers an OSC command tester in the settings for manually sending commands. You can access it by going to the MIDI mapping OSC and scripting section and then click on OSC settings. This is great to start exploring. You can just start by typing / and you'll get a full list of all the available commands. Go wild and experiment here and drop us some of your favorite use cases in the comments. You'll also see these / commands at the top here. These allow different ways to structure and time your OSC commands. Sleep can be used to simply add a delay between OSC commands. A wait jump will only trigger as soon as the next section jump occurs. Await file load can be useful for multi-file projects, especially with longer load times. And if allows you to only trigger your command when a certain condition is met, like for instance when playback is active. Below the tester, you will also see a log of all outgoing commands. In addition to the commands you trigger from the tester, this will also show commands sent from OSC tracks, MIDI triggers, and also canvases and scripts, which we'll look at in the next videos. As I mentioned in the beginning, OSC is also great for changing settings on your different AbleSet remote devices. To make addressing devices a bit easier, you can give each of them a name up here. This will be individual for every AbleSet remote. I'll name this computer Stage Laptop, and then I can use this name instead of the IP address when controlling it. I can also assign multiple names to the same device if I separate them by commas, which is really useful for grouping devices. For instance, I can add stage to my device names to send a notification to all devices on stage without having to address them individually. Next, let's talk about how AbleSet integrates with external OSC devices and other OSC apps. AbleSet's OSC server will present itself to other OSC apps like Touch OSC that are on the same network. If you need to connect to it manually, set the target port to 39051 and the target hostname or IP to the corresponding values shown in the AbleSet menu. You can also receive information about your playback setup to display it on your control surface. External OSC devices can also be configured to receive updates like the playback state from AbleSet. You'll need to send a subscribe message to AbleSet with the IP address and port that the information should be sent to as parameters, and optionally you can give it a name. You could also enter auto instead of the IP, and AbleSet will send the updates to the address from which it receives the subscribe command. If you add true as a fourth argument, your device will receive fine value updates such as the playhead position, but these are sent up to 30 times a second, so just make sure your device can handle that. The full list of values sent to the subscribed servers is linked in the description, so head over there for more information. In the same way that external devices can subscribe to AbleSet, AbleSet can also receive data from other OSC servers. Just add a new connection in the settings from here, and then enter your IP and port, and AbleSet will now listen for any values and store them for later use. Before we move on, I'd quickly like to tell you how OSC integrates with AbleNet. In a redundant setup, both computers will be running their own OSC server. So if you set up your client to connect to the AbleSet server on your main computer, technically only the main computer receives the message, but will then forward it to the other AbleSet hosts via AbleNet. So let's say I would send the command for play to the main computer, both computers will then still start playing together. However, this is now dependent on just one computer and therefore not fully redundant. So just like with MIDI mapping, you can get full redundancy by sending the message to each host individually, which can be done by addressing both IPs from your client. Just know that as a result of this, OSC commands will arrive at both servers twice. One direct message and one forwarded one from the other server. To avoid each server reacting to these duplicate messages, add a universally unique identifier, or UUID for short, to the end of your message by inserting UUID equals and then any string you choose. When AbleSet receives multiple commands with the same UUID, it will only execute the first one and ignore all others. You can also prevent message forwarding by adding AbleNet equals false at the end of your OSC message. Just beware that this parameter is case sensitive. Okay, that covers it for OSC. As you saw, it can get quite technical, but AbleSet also offers a few ways to keep it accessible for less technical users. Next up, we're going to look at building canvases, which are custom UIs, and we're going to put our knowledge on OSC to use. Head over to ableset.com to get your copy of AbleSet, and check out Enable for more tips on playback and Ableton Live. If you find these videos helpful, please leave us a like and please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.